I'm Dr. Cheryl, and welcome to Wake Up with Dr. Cheryl, Wealth Transformation. Our show is raising the awareness and consciousness in the relationship with wealth and applying unconditional love. Love yourself unconditionally first. This is where it all starts. Do not criticize, judge, and blame anyone else for what happens to you. It's an opportunity to truly grow and become the better you that you are meant to be. Always remember that your present situation is not your final destination. The best is yet to come, by Zig Ziglar. I'd like to start with a little joke. The elderly priest, speaking to the younger priest, said, "You had a good idea to replace the first 4 pews with the plush bucket theater seats. It worked like a charm. The front of the church always filled first." The young priest nodded, and the old priest continued, "And you told me adding a little more upbeat music would bring in young people back to the church, so I supported you when you brought in the rock and roll gospel choir. Now our services are consistently packed to the balcony with youths." "Thank you, Father," answered the young priest. "I am pleased that you are open to a new youthful ideas." "All of these ideas have been good," said the elderly priest, "but I'm afraid you've gone too far with the drive-through confessional." "But Father," protested the young priest, "my confessions and the donations have nearly doubled since I began." "Yes," replied the elder priest, "and I appreciate that, but the flashing neon sign, 'Toot and tell or go to hell,' cannot stay on the roof of the church." Our show tonight will be the wealth of understanding the messages on the $1 bill and how to save in your health and wealth. Our guest this evening is Stu Zimmerman, coming back for a second time. Stuart Zimmerman is a former stockbroker, options trader, and hedge fund manager. He had a spiritual awakening that has led him to focusing on the kind of wealth that money can't buy. He is the co-author of Inner Security and Infinite Wealth, Merging Self-Worth and Net Worth, and former host of the Sirius satellite radio show Inside Wealth. Stu is currently a co-host of the TV program Get Conscious Now. Stu, you're back for a second time. A glutton for punishment. Welcome. Welcome.
Thank you so much. It's an absolute pleasure to be here a second time.
Oh, geez. Well, as you can see, we also have a wonderful audience here, which I am delighted. And we'll have a Q&A at the end of the show. So, Stu, this was your idea, actually.
Oh, you're going to blame me now, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I admit it.
On the $1 bill, there's some wonderful Latin words on there. And I think that your idea was wonderful to do an interpretation of this.
Well, thank you.
So I've been doing a lot of research, even though this is part of both of our transformation, the wealth. Mm-hmm. And I did want to just mention one thing or a couple things about the dollar bill. It was issued in 1862 as a legal tender note, and it had a portrait of Salmon P. Chase on it, and under the President Abraham Lincoln. I just thought I could go on and on and on, but we don't have enough time because I want to use this time to get into our depth of conversation about the interpretation of the English and Latin interpretation of what's on the dollar bill.
Don't you think it's kind of funny that they had a guy named Chase on a dollar bill?
Chase the
dollar People have been chasing
bill.
Money ever since.
So the design on the dollar bill actually goes back, but it changed in 1963, and then it changed from a silver certificate. And the only thing I'll say, because I could go on, and I wanted to keep this very succinct, is in 1957, the bill became the U.S. currency, and it had the motto, "In God We Trust." And that goes very deep with me. Maybe it's because my ancestor, my family are tied into the Constitution. Charles Cotesworth Pinckney, he was with George Washington and started the first Bible Society. So it's very deep in my veins. But anyway, I'm going to go with you.
Okay.
Starting this off, Stu.
Well, thank you. Let's have at it, because, you know, we pass around these notes every day.
Yes.
And they literally are notes. They're Federal Reserve notes. And they do have 4 phrases on the back of the $1 bill. 1 is in English, and that's "In God We Trust."
Absolutely.
And 3 are in Latin. So let's take a look at them and kind of pick them off one at a time.
Which one do you want to start?
Well, let's start with start with English and work our way to Latin. Okay, so let's start with "In God We Trust."
I would have gone the other way, but that's okay.
Okay, well,
I'm giving you the lead here.
Well, thank you. Yeah. So, and the reason why, because "In God We Trust," and it can be circular because we could probably start anywhere, pick it up, and circle all the way around through the 4. But it may be helpful to define our terms a little bit, right? Because this notion of God, a lot of people have a lot of ideas in terms of what God really is, and I would like to offer up the possibility of just acknowledging some of its characteristics, because we may not ever fully comprehend this notion of what an all-seeing, all-knowing creator of all things can be.
And on the dollar bill, there's the pyramid with the eye on top of the pyramid. And that is the eye of God watching over us, protecting us, that God's providence taking care of us, in favor of us.
Yeah, and we'll get to that in a little bit, because actually one of the Latin phrases referred directly to that.
Absolutely.
But "In God We Trust," so we're talking about God, we're talking about something that's infinite. We're talking about something that's present in all things, which may actually include us, ironically enough, even though it's not well taught.
It depends where you're coming from.
Yeah.
I mean, it took me years to really understand with the science of mind, and I'm not advocating any religion at all, but their practice is God is everything. Mm-hmm. And, you know, when things aren't going the way you want it to, sometimes you think, where's God in this? You know, and so it's like, it took me a while to get the grasp of God is every breath that I take. God is in this paper. God is in everything, And it took me a long time to really, really get that on a deep level. Mm. So to me, that's what God is. And with the rub, with the challenges, because challenges are opportunities, I've had a lot of them. And, you know, but when you have that faith in God, or whatever you want to call it, infinite intelligence, divine intelligence, universe, whatever you want to call it, that resonates with you. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, and actually, and science, so thank you, Cheryl, and even science and quantum physics indicates that there is an infinite field of energy and consciousness that could also be substituted for God, if you want to call it that. To really get from a scientific or more rational standpoint, if somehow the theological standpoint of having God be some kind of old man with a white beard with a one wagging finger in one hand and a thunderbolt ready to nail you with the other, you know.
No.
Maybe we can let go of that one.
Yes.
But the idea that there is something infinite, something that's ever present, something that is both the creator of all things and the creation. If that is something that we, in God, we trust, so we means you and me, or you and we, whoever we are. Because if we're out in the wilderness by ourselves, and we've got a piece of these papers, one of these notes here, okay? There ain't no we out there. There's just me, and the only thing I could use that paper for is possibly some personal hygiene, you know? So let's just call it out. It needs a we for it to really have value. Because it's a note, it's a message. It's
an exchange.
Exactly. It's a medium for exchange. Right. And it represents something that we agree, whoever we are, we agree that it has a certain value, and it's That's the agreement that we have. So in God we trust means, on one level, we're talking about that you and I and the multitudes who are willing to exchange these notes every day can actually trust and believe that there is something greater going on, that there is something that binds us all together. And
other than the dollar.
Other than the dollar.
Or the 100 or the 1,000 or whatever it is, whatever it is.
So, you know,
hopefully there will be
to
trust.
the extent, as you pointed out, that God is greater than a dollar bill, it's present in all things, whatever we call that, then in fact, if we can trust in that there is something greater that is an aspect of all there is, and I'll take it a step further, if it truly is the creator, then it is responsible for our very existence. So if we really want to take it to that level, that we only exist, each of us individually, collectively on this planet, we only exist by the grace of something greater than all of us.
Absolutely.
On a profound level.
I mean, just look at the way the egg and the sperm come together. That's a miracle.
Well, yeah, and that's one of many.
Yes.
So the point being is that if we can be aware that there is something greater than us individually going on, and that we can trust in that, and not only trust in God, but trust in good, that there is actually something beneficial here to our lives and to our existence, then that can be the first step in using these notes, these dollar bills, for its highest possible purpose. So when I was talking about the idea of this program, I was really considering the real possibility that these 4 phrases, starting with "In God We Trust," is really like a bit of an instruction manual on how to use these darn things for the highest possible good.
Absolutely. I mean, the rest of the messages that we're going to talk about, it's all part of the message, and people need to pay attention to it.
Yeah, so step 1, in God we trust. Yeah. If we can just simply acknowledge that there is something greater than all of us that's responsible for our existence, and just simply rest in it, dare I say, have a sense of gratitude.
That's the first thing.
That we get to exist.
That's the first and foremost.
Yeah.
Is gratitude.
And yeah, place a sense of trust in it. You know, that life is inherently good, that we're here to enjoy ourselves on some level, and this thing called...
And share it.
And share it. And this thing called money, which is the medium of exchange that helps to facilitate our lives and make things more convenient.
And it's also a reminder that money isn't evil.
Right.
Money's not evil. It's the energy that you put towards the money. It's usually the people's bad intention or not ethical or with integrity that makes it bad, you know, and they blame the money, and it's not the money.
Right, right. Money is as money does, kind of to paraphrase Forrest Gump a little bit, you know. It can be a source of great good, and it can be the source of all kinds of, you know, power plays.
But it's the intention
yeah.
behind it from the human being,
So if we can just rest in a moment in God we trust and consider that to be the first step and the first instruction on this dollar bill as to how we could use it for the greatest good.
Absolutely. Not only for yourself, but for everyone.
Exactly.
For everybody, collectively.
Yeah.
That seems like a good segue into E pluribus unum.
Yes. E pluribus unum. Oh, I want to say one more thing about In God We Trust, though.
Okay.
And that is, it first appeared on the dollar bill, or on currency, it may have been on a coin, during the Civil War. And it was introduced on the dollar bill, as you mentioned, in like 1957, which is during the Cold War. And what those two eras had in common is that the country was really on shaky ground. And people in leadership, as well as the masses, you know, they were kind of more so in the Civil War, my guess is, kind of brought to their knees in some way.
Right.
And putting In God We Trust on the dollar bill and on the currency really was both an acknowledgement with a sense of humility that there is something greater going on.
And needing it because of what was going on.
As well as acknowledging a deep-seated fear that there are certain things we just can't control. and we are asking for help from something that's more powerful. And
That's
so,
good.
yeah, and so that can actually also be, we can be mindful of that as we exchange these dollar bills to begin with.
And I think we need to be reminded of it, you know, constantly. I think we need to be reminded because of what has been going on since like 2008. There's a lot of transformation happening all over the planet. And I'm not going to get into details, but I have on some of my shows on, you know, the CEOs and et cetera that have, you know, are getting in trouble because they've gotten too greedy, and there's more than enough, and it comes down to fear. You know, people are in fear. Right. And if they just know that there's more than enough.
Well, that probably comes full circle. They're probably not really mindful too much of that first phrase. In God we trust. Yeah, exactly. Because they're not trusting, which is why they feel they need to grab a little more for themselves.
Right.
To feel good about themselves because they feel somehow disconnected with something greater.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So we're here to remind.
Yeah.
We're here to remind everyone and ourselves. I mean, I'm constantly reminding myself, but, you know, I'm living it.
We all teach what we need to learn on some level, you know, so there's that. And, you know, so getting to that second phrase of e pluribus unum, which translates to out of the many, one. Yes. And that was the original motto of our country, e pluribus unum. Right. And it referred to 13 colonies being one nation. It referred to immigrants from all over the world coming together as, you know,
that's what our country is made on. Right. You know, made from.
Right.
You know, all the immigrants that came, and even the Indians that were here first. So it's all encompassing.
And the purpose of that phrase, e pluribus unum, out of the many, one, is if we can be mindful that no matter how diverse we are, even in our opinions of what God is or isn't, that we are still one humanity.
And I know at times that's challenging because you see behavior that's really not good behavior, and it's hard. But, you know, like for myself, it's seeing the good in people, even when they are behaving horribly, needing to see that good, because then you can forgive them and then move on. Because forgiveness is extremely important, not for them, but for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well.
You know, so it all ties in, so you can see how we are all one in humanity, no matter where you're from.
And it can really start simply. So when you go to the store, you pay something with a dollar bill, smile. Be grateful that whatever you're buying is available.
And be grateful you have the money.
And that you have the money. And so you get to exchange it, and you know, you pass the smile on. Frequently, the person will actually smile back.
That's right.
The cashier.
And you made them
or people
feel
in the
good.
line. Yeah, and then they pass it forward. And then all of a sudden now, this financial transaction kind of links people together a little bit, and we start to interact with each other. We've created, even though temporary as it may be,
a conduit.
Yeah, a bond.
Yeah.
A bond. And that also goes towards out of the many, one. Ultimately.
And it's wonderful to be able to look at it reverently like that.
Yeah.
You know, looking at it from the point of view that you are creating that bond.
Yes.
I didn't think about that before, but it's true.
Yeah.
Especially with a smile and gratitude.
Yeah.
Because the other person will feel it.
Right. And it may just simply be enough just to be friendly. So reverential is a beautiful thing, and, you know, but some people are a little more lighter than you know, at any given moment. You never know. I get to play with you a little bit, Cheryl.
Hey.
Yeah.
I'm
so
game.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate that. Yeah. So e pluribus unum, if we really take into consideration these two phrases back to back. Now, in God we trust, and then compound it with e pluribus unum, out of the many, one. We're starting to create an energy field of awareness here. That we're aware that there's something greater than ourselves, and we're aware that we're all interconnected by it and through it. And that alone can help to raise our own individual consciousness that has absolutely nothing to do about money, and in fact can bring about the state of being, whether we call it security, which is a sense of peacefulness and a sense of freedom from worry, or wealth, where we actually feel like our energetic cup is running over because we are so blessed to be alive and we're part of something that is so much greater than any of us individually, and we're all waking up to this at varying speeds.
Yes.
In various moments. And yet that's exactly what can possibly occur through the mindfulness of these instructions on the back of this note.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then with that mindfulness, then all of a sudden we can take this note and apply it to our 3D reality of, gee, how can I not only have such a fabulous life myself, but out of the many one, how can I make a difference with it to really impact other people as well?
So what do you mean by 3D reality?
Well, I mean like in this dimension that, where we are in a material dimension, we appear to be solid with skin and bones.
Right.
We have human, the human body has certain needs, food, clothing, shelter, that kind of thing. And so we're more than just simply, energy waves vibrating at various frequencies, as quantum physics would have us be.
Yes. Yeah.
And so that's what I meant about the 3D reality piece. So that we just,
clarifying.
Yeah, we get to be on this plane too. And just maybe this life of ours is the ultimate vacation from being formless. Because on some profound level, we're just more than these bodies, right?
Oh, spirit.
We're spirit.
Spirits.
So
I
the
mean,
spirit.
Everyone has their spirit.
And so spirit is.
And soul.
It's formless, right? So on some level, it goes beyond.
Except that this is our temple.
This is the vehicle we get to play around in for a limited time only.
That's right.
So we get to enjoy the senses. We get to enjoy what the material dimension has to offer that we may not when we're in a more disembodied state.
True.
So
True.
Let's party. Let's bring out the money. Let's have some fun, and let's use the money in ways that open our hearts and help to make a difference in people's lives, because we're all one humanity, and we're all traveling on the same rock that's spinning around this ball of fire, hurtling through space. So.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
So why not? That's and to be mindful of some of the messages on these notes that we pass around every day may be a great step, both in terms of our own, how we experience life ourselves, with or without even spending that dollar bill.
And it's a reminder, and it's also instructions.
Yeah.
It's instructions for living.
Yeah.
And I mean, I love it because, first of all, in God we trust, because we need to have something bigger than ourselves, bigger than our own egos, because egos get us in trouble. So when you're living from that in God we trust, and I could talk about that for hours,
yeah.
Being a minister.
We're more likely to love.
So, love.
In God we trust, we're more likely to love.
That's the key.
Okay, we finally said the L word, we brought it out.
If we don't have love,
there we go.
Unconditional love,
yeah.
Unconditional. I talked about that in my intro and my outro, because that's what it's all about, is unconditional love. Not judging, not criticizing, and trusting.
Cool.
And when we have that, then you're at peace. And then you can share it. And it isn't always easy for people. But we're here to remind. That's what my show's about, is to remind people about that.
Okay, and and it starts with us.
And yes.
Right here, right now, in this very moment, whatever moment we're in.
Yeah, that's right.
So each of us have that same
Amen.
Opportunity.
Thank you.
And right to.
And so it is.
And so it shall be. Aho. Let's let it go. Let's keep going on.
Okay.
Numero tres. What's the next one up? Here's one that isn't well advertised. And I actually had to look it up. What is this? And it is right around that pyramid with the all-seeing eye there. And it's Annuit coitus.
Well, it depends how you say it.
How do you say it?
Enwa.
Enwa?
Enwa.
Well, la-di-da. Enwa.
Coiti.
Really?
Coiti, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. That's how I went on Google
Uh-huh.
and I listened to their interpretation from the Latin. To me, it doesn't sound like, because Latin's a little bit more guttural. So this is more French.
Oh, yeah, I was going to
But
say,
the
that sounded more
French-
French. I'm from New
the
York,
French.
so I
Well,
went with the Long Island version.
I have French in me,
Yeah.
so I like
Yeah,
the
I
new
did look it up, though, for the phonetic, and I forget where I said it, but it said
said-
coitus.
That's okay.
Whatever it is, it is. Anyway,
It's
you
the
got
same message.
the same message. And what it means is providence with a capital P. So it's like divine providence favors our undertakings.
Right.
And so
And beginnings.
yeah.
And beginnings.
Well, undertakings has
Yeah.
beginnings, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
all inclusive.
Right.
And what that means is, specifically in the context of the first two phrases, if we are mindful, or should I say when. Thank you, when we are mindful of in God we trust, and we're really aware that there's something greater than all of us running the show, and it's only by the grace of something greater than all of us, whatever we call it to be, that we get to exist in the
Well,
first.
I'm not afraid to say God.
Okay, I'm not either, but I'm just
I know.
being as inclusive as possible,
Right,
because
right.
all it ultimately is a word, and
Yes.
we can't even begin to fully describe or
Absolutely.
define that which is beyond words.
Absolutely.
So just to be inclusive, whatever this thing is, it's all-encompassing, it's ever-present, and it's within all of us. If that is something that we can be mindful of and aware of, as well as e pluribus unum, out of the many one, no matter how many different shapes and sizes it shows up in, no matter how many different languages it could possibly speak, we're still one humanity. And we're still all interconnected and bound by this one planet of ours that is our home.
Absolutely.
And so if we're mindful of those two things, when we use these dollar bills, and even when we don't, providence favors our undertakings. The sun will
That's
shine
right.
on us, and odds highly,
Whether in spending or saving.
or whether just in being
Yeah.
and relating.
Yeah.
There is something greater that is supporting us and favors our undertakings and is more likely to have an outcome that we're going to enjoy.
And when you know that, even when you're going through the challenges, you can get through the challenges much easier when you know that. And you really know that on a heartfelt level.
Yeah.
And that's the key, is to have it on a heartfelt level. Not just
Yeah.
in the head.
Right. This is not a mental.
This
I
is
mean,
not-
yeah.
no,
You're
the
absolutely
heart.
right. You're absolutely right. This is something that our lives are a full-bodied experience here, and we need to feel it in our hearts, and we need to act on it, as well as just simply thinking about it.
That's right.
So, in God we trust. There's something greater than all of us going on here, and we can trust that it's actually a blessing that we get to exist. Out of the many one, we're still interconnected no matter how weird we think each other is. And providence favors our undertakings, meaning that when we're mindful of that, good stuff happens.
That's right.
Good stuff happens.
Yeah, in that order.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. So that's kind of why I thought it would be great to start with the
No.
English and then go Latin.
Absolutely.
And so that really brings us to the fourth one, which, as I look at, is a bit of a culmination of the first three. If we are mindful of something greater that is ultimately the source of our existence on some level, whatever we call this thing. Two, we're mindful that we are all in it together.
Yeah.
You know, and we're inseparable in that regard. Three, we're mindful of the first two, good stuff is going to happen. Then we get to the fourth phrase of novus ordo seclorum. And that means a new order of the ages.
And we need it more than ever right now. Amen.
So yeah, say hallelujah. So really, we could have a whole new era of humanity if we were truly mindful that there is something greater without which none of us would exist. So we can all just humble ourselves a little bit to get out of ourselves and to think we're all hot, you know what, and just kind
and
of
I
really.
think the orderliness of this is extremely important.
Yeah.
Meaning, in God we trust, numero uno, on the $1 Uno bill.
Right.
One. And then we're all collectively one.
Mm-hmm.
No conditions, no boundaries. I mean, we have to set healthy boundaries, of course, but, you know, with the spirit.
Right. And we're still in it together.
And the love.
We're still in it together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then being reminded. Right now, this is a key thing, is being reminded of all these things. Because our society is in a crisis. To be reminded of all these things. So, you know, I'm very happy that you have come on here to talk about this.
Well, thank you.
Because I can't do it by myself either. I don't want to do it by myself.
Right, that's no fun.
Yeah. So, you know, right now is the perfect time.
Yeah.
I mean, it is. It's the perfect time for everybody, even if it's just a reminder.
So the real truth is, as much as these 4 phrases can actually be instructions on how to best use the dollar bill for humanity's evolution.
Absolutely.
Because the real truth is there's enough money in the world right now for everybody in the world to have clean water, everybody in the world to have electricity, free of charge.
And food.
I was about to say food.
Sorry.
No.
Food.
Food, clean, local,
you know, we
healthy.
all enjoy food on some level.
And, you know, for some people, it's not even about enjoyment. I mean, there's a significant, like literally a couple billion people are going hand to mouth day after day. This is, and it's crazy. This is the year 2015. We've got all this incredible technology, and yet somehow we collectively allow billions of people to starve.
I know.
It's
insanity.
It is insanity. It is insanity, and clearly there ain't much e
Well,
pluribus unum going on there.
Yeah,
because people aren't really, and yet
we trust in God. It's, you know.
Yeah. So
you know, it's not there.
And really, the only ingredient, as I see it, that's missing here is will to make it happen. Because let's use John F. Kennedy as an example. He felt in the early 60s that the U.S., especially in the context of a Cold War and having their knees kind of buckled by Russia and whatever, we need to have a dream to feel good about ourselves as being Americans again. And he said, you know what? We're going to get to the moon in 10 years. I don't know how we're going to do it. The technology may not be around yet for us to be able to do it. But we're going to do it. We're committed to it. And in achieving that, we're going to feel so great about ourselves. We're going to come together in a new way. Clearly, he didn't live to see the day, and it happened. So he didn't even know exactly how it was going to happen. He just knew that it needed to happen and created the funding behind a will to have it happen, and that's what happened. The same thing can happen with clean air, clean water, food.
How about love?
Love.
Love. You know, we need to spread the love and know that there's more than enough of all those things you're talking about, and all over the planet, you know, and the relations with all the other countries. You know, I mean, that's what we need.
Yes, we do.
Because that's what's going to save our humanity, is the big LOVE. No matter what, that's what's going to save us. And I just saw the movie, The Power of Love, this last weekend. And it's just awesome because the scientists did a study on the heart. And the heart actually has more energy force than our minds. And that is the key. That's the key to survival. You know, it isn't how much money you have. You know, it comes down to love. Yeah, it's great to have a lot of money because there's freedom in it. And you can help other people and you can, you know,
well,
contribute.
as a money manager, I can tell you that, in fact, it's incredible how often possessions can own the person.
Oh, absolutely. That's
And
what
so
that's what's happening.
having all of this money that implies a great sense of freedom on some level actually creates a prison on another.
Oh, well.
Because I know people who are worth hundreds of millions of dollars who feel like they can't trust other people because other people just view them as some piece of meat, you know, and not seeing them for who they really are.
Yeah, and also because they haven't become spiritually mature or wise. You know, if they were spiritually and heartfelt wise, they wouldn't feel that way.
That's true.
So, I mean, that's my experience with the billionaires and the multi-millionaires that I have come in, because I've managed and I've dealt with the same.
Yeah, so ironically, it's only people with a lot of money who are absolutely certain of what money can't buy, because they have it and they know what it doesn't buy. And
LOVE.
Yeah, and
I mean, it may for a short time.
Well,
but
yeah, but it's fleeting, and it never doesn't. You can't fill up something on the inside with something on the outside.
No.
You know.
Absolutely.
So, to that extent, I hope there's some wealthy people in the neighborhood around here watching this show, and they can be taking out one of their dollar bills, taking a look at it, and maybe take a look at it more often in the back.
Really look at the meaning of what
really,
it means.
Yeah, really just contemplate it. And that's something that, you know, even goes beyond what they do with the dollar bill, but how they view life themselves. Absolutely. And how you treat people. Because we can have a wealthy life without having much in the way of creature comforts, without having much in the way of materialism, when we have, as you pointed out, the LOVE. We're spelling it out like it's a four-letter word, and there are kids watching the show. Well, love.
Yeah. Well, you know, from all dimensions.
Yeah.
As a reminder, we need it from all dimensions.
So do you want to take some questions maybe from the audience, or how are we doing?
Well,
where would you like to go?
I also wanted to say that, you know, with wealth, there's a lot of responsibility. You know, and there's nothing wrong with that. When you don't have it, which I have been there, it's okay, because the wealth comes from inside. And when you get to that point where the wealth comes from inside, it doesn't matter. And when you do have it, then you know how to strategically manage it even better.
Well, that brings up a great point, because ultimately wealth is nothing more than a state of being.
That's right.
And it's a state of being that whoever we are, we have more than enough in the moment. And there is such a wellspring of warmth and fullness, gratefulness coming through us, that our tendency is naturally just wanting to share. And that is wealth. And it's a real distinction between being wealthy and having money, because there are a lot of
love too. I mean,
it is.
It's all connected. It's all interconnected.
It is. It really is. And that essence of wealth, that state of being where there is an open heart and a fullness that just wants to reach out and share with whomever that is, that creates a really rich environment and a really wealthy, you know, life. And to the extent that someone has money as well as that presence of wealth, then it is amazing what kind of world could be created materialistically.
Yes, and there are people out there that are like that.
And there are.
Yeah. So I think maybe we could switch this to the audience and see if there's any questions. So please, audience, if there's any questions that you'd like to ask, go for it.
Well, I just happened to find this microphone sitting next to me.
Right next to you.
It just happened to be here.
No coincidences, I guess.
No, there isn't. Hey, Stu.
Yes.
So the three Latin phrases that are on the dollar bill, we know we have an idea when they got on the dollar bill, but do we have an idea on how they came to be on the dollar bill? Because I had heard at one time that the Masons had some influence on the design of the dollar and those sayings. Could you speak to any of that? Or
Yeah,
and
Cheryl,
I knew I should have done a little bit more history on this, but go ahead, Stu.
yeah, so the short answer is yes. Masons were definitely involved in the iconography, the imagery, and some of the phrases as well. And the jury is out as to exactly what all of their motivations were, if they were as, let's say, altruistically defining the phrases as we've defined them today. Yeah. They could have been used. I do know that the "In God We Trust," for example, wasn't so much Mason. No. That was just kind of like, literally, God help us here. We got our you-know-what in the ringer. And there was a deep sense of humility there. But the other phrases, the Latin ones especially, they were very much designed to create a deeper sense of confidence. Because especially when we were converting from metal, which had been a long-standing traditional form, silver and gold, yeah. But the metals in general considered to have intrinsic value. All of a sudden we're going to a piece of paper, which kind of grows on trees.
And actually that started in China with the exchange of paper originally. It's, yeah, they created whatever they did in
It was just
paper.
much more convenient. Rather than going like with a piece of eight and like starting to break up coins into little bits and everything like that, it was easier to track in paper form.
I think too, for the gold part of it, they realized that the resource of it was a little bit more limited. So of course people started to hold on to the gold.
Right.
Like the Queen.
Right. But then again, when it really comes down to it, gold is like anything else. It only has as much value as we agree that it has. And it's a nice shiny object. But the truth is, aside from having it as jewelry it has very little, let's say, industrial use. So to that extent, gold has a value only because people have some demand for it, but it doesn't mean that it really has any more value than anything else other than what we attribute to it. There's a sense of purity to it, though. Yeah.
Great. So Stu, real quickly, can you go over the four, I know we got the "In God We Trust," can you go over the other three really quickly and say, with a quick summary about why you think it adds to the idea of wealth and liberty and freedom?
Sure, thank you. So "In God We Trust" was the English one, the first one. The second one, the first Latin phrase we mentioned was "E pluribus unum," that's out of the many, one. And why that adds to our collective wealth is to really know that we're one humanity here. We really are interconnected no matter what. No matter what. And we're all in it together on a profound level, all sharing the same set of resources, natural resources, what have you, on this planet. And the more mindful we can be about that, the greater likelihood we have to get along and enjoy each other's company, being that we're going to be here anyway for the duration of our lives. The next one was Annuit. I'm going to pronounce it Long Island style. Annuit coeptis, which means providence with a capital P, divine providence, favors our undertakings. And what that means simply is when we're mindful of "In God We Trust," we're mindful that we're all in this together. There's a higher power going on here that we all exist, but for the grace of. With our dollar bills especially, but no matter what, good things are going to happen. It's actually going to be beneficial to our lives to be mindful of those things as we go through life, using money or not. And finally, that "Novus Ordo Seclorum," in mindful of those first three phrases, a new order of the ages, literally means we can be living in a golden age of humanity where there is more than enough to go around. We are all connected with each other. We're all here to love each other and to acknowledge some greater thing that's bringing us all together.
And if you don't have that thought process in your mind, then you're not going to feel it. If you need to know that, and even if you have to discipline yourself to keep saying that over and over, it demonstrates. When you have trust, it demonstrates. I've had so many miracles happen in my life on that same vein because I've trusted. I mean, things appear, things happen when I just am staying open. When you stay open, it happens, but you've got to trust, it's just like, I don't want to say blind trust because it's not blind, you're fully aware of it, But when the miracles happen, sometimes it's, oh my God, it really is happening. And thank God. Yes.
Well, here's something that's confused me for a while, and it has to do with the dollar and the value of the dollar. So apparently, the value of the dollar is high.
You mean relative to other currencies?
Relative to other currencies in the world view of economics. So my understanding is that if the dollar is high, then other countries don't really want to trade with us because it costs them more to buy goods from the United States.
Right. Our exports to them become more expensive.
So how is this good for the United States?
Well, first of all, that's a relative term. What really is good for the United States? And that's a huge other question.
One thing sorry.
No, go ahead.
One thing that I recently, like within the last few months, is that China and Russia have decided not to use the dollar as their general currency, which necessarily, I don't quite understand if it's really bad or if it's good. It's all relative, isn't it? I mean,
well. So to answer your question in terms of the relativity, as it relates to our day-to-day lives, the stronger the dollar is, the cheaper the imports are. Okay, so that means that our dollar buys more imports from other countries, right? The U.S. ain't making much here anymore. It's all coming from overseas and largely from China. And if our currency is stronger relative to them, our purchasing power goes a longer way. So it feels like we're actually buying more goods with the same dollar. And some people think that's good. Conversely, if your business is to sell overseas and you got an expensive dollar, no one's going to be buying your products because you've, or in essence, priced out of the market.
Right.
Yeah.
So it depends where you're coming from, what position you're coming from.
And going along with that, also, is the dollar really backed by gold?
No. No.
So what is
it's called, the technical term is called bureaucratic fiat. And what that simply means is, because I said so. The dollar has value
The arrogance.
because I said so. And ultimately that said so is echoed between the President of the United States and the Federal Reserve Board that creates the notes, which is a private institution that is owned by the banks. So
the 9 cartel bankers.
That's another very curious conversation that we could get into. That would probably take far beyond this one program to fully, explore and unravel.
That's another show.
Yeah.
Stu, earlier you mentioned something about the eye, that you wanted to talk about that, and then I don't think you came back to it.
Oh, what did I want to say about the eye?
Well, God's watching out
over
us.
It's considered the all-seeing eye. So it is something that is considered to be both a protector and possibly something to keep us honest. I'm watching you. I got my eye on you. And but the idea is that it is watching over us.
The eye of providence. This is what
the eye of providence.
Or the all-seeing eye of God is a symbol showing an eye often surrounded by rays of light or glory and usually enclosed by a triangle. It sometimes is interpreted as representing the eye of God watching over humankind and divine providence.
Okay.
So.
I think I got one right.
Also, I understand that the founding fathers were pretty much all Masons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. George Washington for sure. Benjamin Franklin.
Yeah.
Jefferson. Yeah.
My grandfather was a 32nd Mason.
So what did he leave you? Do you have like a treasure map or something like National Treasure and Nicolas Cage? And we're going to find all these gems and stuff hidden underneath the subway or something?
All I know is he had a swatch on his body when he left from the Masons. They give you like a lambskin type thing. Yeah, and honored. That's all.
Okay.
He was a fun man. Did you have a question?
I do, and it's a big shift from what we've been talking about. Because what I've been hearing all night long is transformation and the journey from one way to live to another way to live. And I've heard all the religions, all the major religions, and it's the main message, it's all good. Love. And I just didn't know if you had anything else that you'd like to share about that aspect of what you've been talking about.
Wow, that's a
Yeah,
wonderful,
thank you. Yeah,
wonderful
it's beautiful.
question.
Yeah.
You know, when it comes right down to it, and I keep getting this message from all sides of the people that I deal with, and because I'm always looking for guests, and I'm always looking for, you know, to help people get their message out. And going to this movie, and he's written a book, he's actually from Holland, but the director of The Secret is also part of this. And you know, just scientifically, as I said earlier, is knowing that your heart has so much more energy than your mind. I mean, scientifically, it's been proven. It's like we really need to listen with our heart. And I think that this is what's shifting, because we've been so stuck in especially the United States, the Western you know, part of the world. It's mind, mind, mind. And even though I appreciate you know, Buddhism, because it's very very philosophical, and you know, but to me it's all one. Your mind and your heart are one. But it's really important to really think with your heart. And I think that embraces most religions. I mean, maybe they approach it a little different way, but you know, we really need to embrace this to survive as a human. Look what's happening with geoengineering, our food, you know, the chemicals, the GMOs and everything that's slowly killing us. I mean, Alzheimer's and autism have gone up 10,000% because the billionaires are making money off of all these chemicals. We can't survive like that. Look what's happening in the East with the weather. Look what's happening here. I mean, you know, so we really need to wake up. That's why I call my show Wake Up, because the most important thing is love, unconditional love.
And that really is the bottom line. I mean, anything that this money can buy, ultimately, ideally, is supposed to be improving our lives somehow. And somehow we're going to love our lives more simply by using that stuff wisely and in ways that open our heart more and have us enjoy being in this material world a little bit more. And it is the bottom line. And I think we all know that we don't need to have an excess of these notes in our pocket to love life, to love each other, to live in a world that we've only dreamed of, and to really let loose this heart energy that you're referring to, and just
and if we do have
out.
excess, then let's share it.
Yeah.
You know, let's do something better for the humanity.
Because it's highly contagious. You know, everyone wants to be loved, and ultimately everybody wants to love life. And that's why somehow we got conditioned to believe that if we earn enough of these dollar bills, we get to love life. And
it doesn't work that way.
No,
Look what's happened.
Not only does it not work that way, the dirty little secret is, in a way, that we get to love life right now beyond anything that any of this could ever buy.
Regardless of money.
Yeah, right here, right now.
But
Just,
we have this exchange, so, you know, I've focused on it, Stu's focused on it, and it is what it is, you know, because we use that as an exchange, but we need to exchange love more.
yeah.
I see 3 books up there, and I don't quite have my glasses on, so I can't read the from here.
Oh,
Could you tell us about them?
well, this is my first book. It's called Wealth Transformation. Integrity, integrity, integrity. Buckminster Fuller's, I'm using his quote. This was my first book, and it's about basically getting back into the corporate world and the corruption that I would always get up against. So I put my metaphysics in this book. And my second book is called, it's the second of Wealth Transformation. Whoops.
Oops.
and it's about some of my journey, my personal journey on my transformation. And then there's Stu's book, Inner Security and Infinite Wealth.
Yeah,
And
merging self-worth and net worth. So I kind of took 8 everyday concepts of financial concepts such as will, trust, and appreciation, all of which are in the financial jargon and financial realm, and apply it to the kind of wealth that money can't buy. So there you go.
Are there any last questions? Because we're coming down to the last part of our show. We're winding up.
To say something, please.
Okay, Petra.
I'm being reminded because I feel mind, the thinking part, is the builder, but the integrator is the heart. When I heard you say we think with our heart, if I may correct you, we feel with our heart. If the feeling is missing, it's not the heart.
Well,
It's back to the mind.
when you, I know we have to articulate with our words through our mind,
Whether it's, yeah,
but if you can't articulate how you feel, that's the connection. This is my interpretation, is that you are thinking with your heart because you're saying the words through your mind, but it's from your heart.
That's true. That is true, yes.
So that's where I'm coming from.
Okay. Yeah, great.
Stu, thank you so much.
Cheryl, so my pleasure.
For the second round.
You got a great show.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
really
you.
appreciate being here. Thank you
Thank
so much.
you. Thank you. And thank you to all of our audience for participating. I really appreciate it. We appreciate it.
Yes, we do.
And I appreciate my wonderful crew. I couldn't do it without we. It's not me, we.
It is-
we.
yeah. Yeah.
So thank you. I'll leave you with this. Never give up. Be grateful for whose you are and where you've come from and what you have, and be grateful for your freedom and eat healthy. Good nutrition feeds the mind, your body temple, and don't forget to exercise. Feed your spirituality with meditation and prayer. Thank the Divine Spirit. Love yourself unconditionally. Stop criticizing, stop judging, and allowing others to dominate the way you feel and think about yourself. Be compassionate and share your abundance and wealth with others. When fear knocks, let faith answer the door. The world sometimes seems like an insane asylum. You can decide whether you want to be an inmate or pick up the visitor's badge. You can be in the world but not engaged in the melodrama of it. You can become a spiritual being having a human experience thoroughly and fully, by Deepak Chopra. I read this the other day and I feel it's very profound. Sickness is the defense against truth. Also, I turn unpredictability into creative possibility. Wealth is the ability to fully experience life, by Henry David Thoreau. Thank you, Marin TV, for facilitating our show, and especially to my crew, Ginger, Brad, and Jack. If you like this show, please let us know at #MarinTV. Please support and become a member of Marin TV. Bye for now, until next time.